The gentle light of early morning paints a pleasant portrait in the restored 18th century Moravian congregational town of Salem. And one of the most popular stops is the Winkler Bakery, where you can get an authentic Moravian treat like sugar cake, which one visitor called an excellent excuse to eat butter and brown sugar, just like in the olden days.
This was such a commerce center during this time period. It wasn't far off the great wagon road, and they would stop here to buy the wares, the pottery, the tailored goods, the gunsmith. They would stop all these places, but they were all going to be hungry, and it was important that the bakery provide the outsiders that were here with their bread as well.
The bakery was begun in 1799. Only 33 years after the first tree was felled in Salem, and has been going strong ever since.
The church was not fond of individuals having their own bake ovens. They were tremendous fire hazards. If you wanted a bake oven here in Salem, you'd have to go to the church and petition for a bake oven, and they'd send a fire inspection team to your house to make sure that you had a site that not only wouldn't burn your house down, but wouldn't burn your neighbor's house down. And in the diaries, the church quotes that they really do wish everyone would get rid of their bake ovens and use the commercial bakery.
While the blaze inside the beehive-shaped chamber starts heating things up, head baker Bobby James begins preparing the goodies that will be responsible for the unforgettable fresh bread aroma that will fill this place by, about mid-afternoon. First, the raisin walnut dough is prepared, which includes some serious paddle work. Some serious punching. And lots of kneading and folding and shaping before returning the dough to the trough, where it gets covered to rise some more. Meanwhile, other treats are on the way, like wickedly rich apple strudel. And then there's another delectable item.
This is tea cookie dough. People come, they'll drive for miles just to come and pick up this cookie.
The fire is going vigorously now. When the oak finally burns down to coals, the glowing embers are raked to the front to heat that part of the oven. Then they're dropped through a trap door in the floor, and the oven temperature begins falling.
You have to wait till the oven cools down. It cools down to 400, and that's when we put our bread in at 400 degrees. It'll take about a good hour, I think, so we can keep busy till the oven cools down.
Keeping busy today means preparing a batch of white bread, which consists of hot water, sugar, yeast, dry milk, a bit of salt, and melted European butter.
Most of our recipes are based on traditional recipes, but we try to stay pretty true to what might have been served here in 1800.
The baking business is all about timing. The prep work takes a lot of time, but waiting takes the most. It may seem that a watched oven never cools, but little by little the mercury drops.
And the temperature right now is close to about 440. As soon as it cools down to 400, which is pretty much in the middle right there, we can slide our goods in there and bake the bread and the sugar cake. And back in the olden days, Mr. Winkler would take cornmeal or corn flour and throw it in there on the floor, and if it would flare up, then he knew it was too hot, but if it would brown like a piece of bread would brown, then he knew he had his temperature about correct. That was the way they did in the olden days.
As the loaves shape up, they're put on standby with the other loaves.
okay, we're ready to put bread in the oven right now.
And then it's not long before
Bread!
it's time.
Bread ready! Pretty good.
And now, the legendary Moravian sugar cake.
Stand outside the door till they let us in.
Well, the delicious aroma of fresh baked bread has done its job. So it wouldn't be surprising to see a sharp rise in sales during this part of the afternoon, as visitors and locals alike line up for a taste of how things used to be 200 years ago, and frankly, still are today. At Old Salem's Winkler Bakery.